Ripple CEO Brad Garlinghouse has a very big message to all of you. And in this video, I'm going to take you down the path to that video clip because it is very important and it does mean a lot, especially for the future around this space, around XRP, and around the success of those that are invested into XRP as well. So with that being said, welcome to the channel, everyone. My name is Nick. For those that are new to the channel, hopefully by the end of this video, you do become a subscriber. If you're not new to the channel, then over the last couple of years, you probably know that I've been putting a big spotlight on global organizations like the IMF, the BIS, the World Economic Forum, even the World Bank, etc., because all of them have been telling us one thing, which is, they are preparing for crypto regulations. And even here, if we actually look at this IMF blog post, this goes all the way back to July of 2023, and it was titled "Crypto Needs Comprehensive Policies to Protect Economies and Investors. Establishing effective policies has become a priority for authorities amid the failure of some exchanges and the collapse of certain crypto assets." Now, what's interesting about this is, you know, we have been seeing the big frameworks being in progress for a while, and this is all through the G20 with the FSB, with the IMF, the World Bank, and even the BIS. And a lot of these individuals that are writing these articles, like for an example, Tobias Adrian, I've outlined Tobias Adrian on this channel many times because this is an individual that has been meeting with, big players around this space for a very long time. In fact, there was a private meeting back in, I want to say 2017, 2018, sometime around there, where Brad Garlinghouse was actually in the same room as Tobias Adrian and many big players around the central banks. For an example, Christine Lagarde was there. Many central bankers were there. I know the IMF was represented by like 3 or 4 names. Even the DTCC was there. I mean, there was major players at that private meeting. But I bring these individuals up because they're the same individuals that are talking about, digitalization, the needs for, regulations around this space, because they realize the overall potential that this entire asset class does have, even though it's minuscule on the grand scheme of things, because it's only sitting at around like roughly a $3 trillion market cap. The technology behind it has such vast potential. And I do believe that they want to adopt it. They want to utilize it. We know this through a lot of the documents that they have put out. Now, also, we know that back in May of this year, the World Economic Forum did put out a post regarding cryptocurrency regulations are changing across the globe. Here's what you need to know. And it fully breaks down on how governments around the world are building out new rules for cryptocurrencies. Even the International Organization of Securities Commissions has also laid out its 18 recommendations for global rules on managing crypto and digital assets. I mean, as we really look at what's going on here, this admin obviously has been pushing for pro crypto, and it's not even officially taken order yet, but it feels as though we are right there. We're knocking on the door of a complete shift in the regulatory scene, especially in the US markets. And I feel as though a lot of this has already been building up and it's already been in progress. We're just now seeing it in a very large way. And even if we go over here, right, we know for the last couple of years, major regulatory movements have been taking place. This is from Atlantic Council, and this is their overall this is their regulation tracker. And if we look at it, right, this is 60 countries. We analyze how 60 countries have regulated crypto assets in their jurisdictions. And this is already updated. This is updated to July of this year. So again, it's a little bit out of date, but for the most part, it definitely is one that I've been watching for, because if we look at the status here, we could see from taxation to AML, CFT, consumer protection, and even licensing. And if we look around the world, a lot of this stuff is already in progress, and it's only going to continue to grow and grow and grow. And even if we look at the key findings, we could actually see that among the 60 countries we studied, cryptocurrency is legal in 33, partially banned in 17, and generally banned in 10. And we have 2024 is a critical year for crypto asset regulation. Australia, the UK, Brazil, and South Korea have announced that they will be releasing new regulations this year. Of the countries reviewed, 70% are in the process of making substantial changes to their regulatory framework. Both emerging market and advanced economies still lag on comprehensive regulation and oversight. Even for countries with partial or general bans in place, adoption rates remain high, suggesting that bans are generally ineffective. And again, as we really look at that, yeah, they're not going to be able to ban the technology. The technology is going to be utilized. It's going to continue to grow regardless. But I think that in the year of 2025, we are going to see a regulatory shift like no other, and I think that's going to be a historical year for crypto. Over here, we have the Trump administration and Republican Congress are expected to move forward two major crypto bills with minimal opposition: the stablecoin bill and the market structure bill, regulatory clarity for crypto assets in the United States. Big shout to Smoke Dog. We have here Trump wins election and Republicans to control Congress. Two major bills, the stablecoin bill and the market structure bill for digital assets, are expected to move forward with minimal opposition. And yeah, I think that a lot of these major bills concern the fact that Congress is mainly Republican. We also have a Republican administration. I think that we are about to see some very big moves being made, specifically around crypto. Even over here, we have Trump's upcoming US regulatory changes that will redefine the crypto market. And if we look at this, let me open this up in a new tab for you guys and zoom in. We have the stablecoin legislation, which is going to be a big one. The banking restrictions reversal as well, which is going to be huge because this is actually going to enable banks to manage crypto assets for their clients. This could very well lead to mainstream access, mainstream adoption of cryptocurrencies as well. And then, of course, we have the strategic national Bitcoin stockpile, which is their strategic, essentially reserve for Bitcoin, which is it's definitely going to build up hype. It's going to bring a lot more retail eyes to Bitcoin and crypto. But for the most part, these are three major changes, and they could definitely redefine the U.S. market. They could definitely accelerate the US essentially becoming a crypto hub. And I think that everyone should be paying attention to this, especially if you do hold altcoins like XRP. Now, talking more so about that, even if we look at the World Economic Forum, this is from October of 2024. This is titled Digital Assets Regulation, Insights from Jurisdictional Approaches. And if we look in here, we could see some of the big players mentioned. We have, Ripple mentioned. We have Stellar mentioned. We have Hedera mentioned. There are some big players mentioned within this, and it goes to show you that, as we really look at what's going on around this space, the legitimate projects, the big players, the winners, in my opinion, long term, are already handpicked. And I do think that Ripple with XRP are definitely two big winners. Hedera, obviously, another one. Stellar, obviously, another one. And there's a few other ones within the whole mixture that I could talk about as well. But this is why I keep telling you guys, and I even said this back in 2024 of, February. I said, as we inch closer and closer to global crypto regulations, you must be focusing on the companies in the space that are transparent and compliant. Ripple, regardless of what you believe because of the SEC lawsuit, is one of the most transparent companies in the space. For over a decade, they have been attempting to work with regulators, including, of course, even the SEC. They have had private meetings with high-ranking, individuals from the IMF, the World Bank, the BIS, central banks, etc. They recently joined the BIS CPMI group as well and continue to shake things up around the traditional financial world. Now, also, if we look at this, regulations are being primed and they are inevitable. 99% of the space will evaporate with proper regulations because majority of this space is just noise. I personally see a handful of projects sticking around after regulations. That 1% that's still here after regulations go live, they will reap the rewards of putting in the time, the work, and jumping through the regulatory hoops. Many have gotten rich from crypto over the last year or over the years. I personally see the most amount of wealth made and created coming from mass utilization of the technology. We don't get to that point without regulations. And again, the number one thing that I want you guys to realize is that when most of the retail crowd will be out, because again, when regulations hit, there's going to be a very, very big shakeout. MiCA, stablecoin legislation, regulatory frameworks, it's all in progress and it must be focused on. Failing to realize what's coming and how it will change this entire space will leave you missing out on one of the largest technological innovations in history. Okay, when we look at all of this, this is Ripple. They are making sure that they are extremely transparent. They want to make sure that they are, abiding by the rules and regulations because they are working with institutions. They're working with big banks. Now, also, if we look at this post here from XRP Drops, This is the important message from Brad Garlinghouse. He's emphasizing the number one issue to move the industry forward is that regulatory clarity is the big one on a global scale. I'm more optimistic now for the next 5 years of crypto than I've ever been. Check it out.
I mean, I literally think the number one issue to move the industry forward is that regulatory clarity on a global scale. I know that the FSC here in Korea is looking at some rules that apparently will be evaluated in the first half of 2025. Certainly the US seeing legislative movement there. But I think what's holding back the unlock in a lot of places is if we don't have regulatory clarity, you're going to continue to have financial institutions that are afraid to do this. And when that fear exists, they can't lean in aggressively. And so I'm very optimistic. Look, I'm more optimistic now about the next 5 years of crypto than I've ever been.
And yeah, listen, regulatory clarity, once we finally have regulatory clarity for this space, the game is officially on. Because that's when the space grows exponentially, including XRP. Why? Because think about who Ripple's clients actually are. Majority of them are big banks, institutions, large players, but they've been waiting. Just like Charles Schwab is planning to offer crypto to investors when regulations change as expected. This is almost every single major bank and institution as well. They're just waiting for regulations. They're on the sidelines waiting. That's why when I go back to this post and we look into this and we actually read this, right? Ripple is offering seamless integration with your bank's existing systems and processes, such as anti-money laundering controls, fraud detection, sanction screening, and regulatory reporting. Guys, when we think about these big institutions, Ripple is already catering to them. They've always been transparent when it comes to regulations. So if we're thinking about what Brad Garlinghouse is saying over here, he's saying the number one issue is regulatory clarity on a global scale. It definitely is. In fact, it's one of the biggest obstacles to adoption of this tech through the institutions, which in my opinion, once we have regulations, which in my opinion, in the next 12 months, that's when everything starts to move in terms of regulations. Once we get that green light, all of the big banks that have been on the sidelines for years, what do you think that they have been doing? You think they've just been sitting there? They have been building. They've been integrating. They've been planning ahead because they know that regulations were going to happen. It was inevitable. That's why Bank of America even told you, hey, once this XRP case is completely over, we're ready to utilize it. JP Morgan even said, once this XRP case is over, we expect XRP to grow significantly. Because they all understand that there is massive players from the financial world on the sidelines just waiting for that green light because it is a very big obstacle. That's why I also think that Brad Garlinghouse is saying that he's extremely optimistic for the next 5 years of crypto than ever before, because the next 5 years, we're going to see extreme growth of this entire industry because of regulations, which are already planned ahead. They're already happening. They're already becoming a reality. So with that being said, I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys definitely leave a like, subscribe, to notifications on because more free content. You guys are more than welcome to follow me on Twitter and join the free Discord down in the description below. And with that being said, guys, it's been Nick. Thanks for watching. Peace out.